Sup everyone, this is Jeremy Penter, or Karak as I'm known in the wonderland of the interweb, and you may know me from my recent musical release, Bumps in the Night, Music for Blind Lovers, and my recent book, Never Swallow a Dinner Plate, Even If You Break It Into Pieces First, a guidebook to good parenting. I'm exhausted, soggy, and altogether cranked up and ready to bring you the review for Divinity, Original Sin, the game from Lorient Studios and their first turn-based adventure. Divinity Original Sin was kickstarted by gamers instead of going through the normal publishing and developer phase, which means far less people getting low wages got fucked completely in the making of this game. Does the game suffer for it, looking and acting more like Windows Millennium, where it just shared the name of its actually sometimes working predecessors, or is it something special, a mixture of Viagra and birth control that makes for rock-hard play and casual and no-regrets enjoyment? Check your ego at the door, put the kids to bed, sit back and enjoy what can only loosely be described as audio sickness recorded for your enjoyment. As always, up first is graphics. I knew something was really wrong with my idea of the game the moment nothing went wrong in the first 30 seconds. I was able to crank the graphics to ludicrous speed without a hitch and turn on the beloved SMAA anti-aliasing that you guys know I love so much. The game has a wondrous level of overall sheen to it with the soft depth of field and loosely used motion blur that feels less like an effect and more like a natural movement than most AAA games have any right to ever claim to. That overall graphic sheen is everywhere, in the insane and over-the-top characters, the wicked spell effects that actually look like people, casting spells, to the animations of monsters and special movement. Environment effects wash across the screen so much that at times you feel you need a windshield wiper or some wet naps depending on how excited that shit makes you. It's as if the developers sat up all night just snorting crank and eating bananas so they wouldn't get cramps and added every special effect and bit of depth they could, then they turned around and did it a second time just because they thought it would be funny. Seriously, this is the best looking turn-based action RPG yet. This is young Jennifer Aniston wearing knee-high socks during Friends Hot, my kind of game, and a goddamn good start. Note that I did have some stutter on one or two loads, and for some reason loading again worked to clean that up totally.
What's this I've spotted?
Up next is sound, music, and voice. The sound's surreal. I use that word because to call it heavenly has a strangely hemp and green tea sound to it that's just too tepid of a word to be used to describe it. But goddamn, it's amazing. The area of effect spells roar down rain or fire with appropriate force, and the overall tempest of spells and actions fill a gap you didn't even know was missing. I would make love to the soundtrack if my Peter would fit into the disk drive. Other audio designers need to buy this game and play it with their eyes closed so they can get an idea of exactly how to do sound in a game, though I fear a rash of suicides might result. On to music. Well, my favorite music of all time is from Divinity and its original score. This falls just shy, heavy on the string instruments like some orchestra owes them money occasionally. It goes a bit wild, but for the most part, it's worth the price of admission alone. I would rather listen to this than have Tori Black whisper dirty words into my ear, and that is saying something. Sorry, Tori, but seriously, just insanely good. Actually, just in case she's listening, I'd rather allow her to try to test that theory out. For science, of course. Voice. Boom, spot on. Enough said. Nah, kidding, I'm gonna cover it. Listen, these guys went out and instead of getting unemployed fucks like me to squeal into the microphone 40 different times to sound like different people, they actually got people who sound like the characters looked and act. Unfortunately, many of the lines of dialogue are not spoken, and man does that hurt it in this department. It's like staring at the body of a beautiful woman and then being told you can just mess around with one half of her. It feels almost unfair at times that the entire game is not fully spoken. Up next is, as of course, gameplay. First, I'm going to cover the character, editor, and UI. Have you ever wondered what it'd be like to play a game where the developer might have actually played games in the same genre and saw the good and bad in those titles and then fixed them? Yeah, me either, until now. From the opening character screen and the assload of skills to the easy-to-understand abilities, everything is handed to you like it's something genetically imprinted on your DNA at birth. Many games have user interfaces and skills and abilities that read like your first day of using Rosetta Stone when you figured out you bought the Japanese language version that's actually for Spanish native speakers and you only speak English. But because you don't speak either, you aren't really sure if you're just that stupid or if you did something terribly, terribly wrong. Not here, because here, menus, choices, and buttons are all in the exact right place, except for when leaving conversations, which seems arbitrarily difficult, like the UI designer was ill that day and his twin brother came in, so he wouldn't lose a sick day. The inventory is good but not great, with it soon getting unwieldy until you sort it yourself with a drop-down list. Sometimes descriptions will fill a good portion of what you want to see in your inventory, which can make searching through 30 books difficult, as you try to find the one titled, Stick the Sword into the Enemy, Battle Tactics, versus Let's Do Some Peyote, Recipe Notes. Not bad, just not as useful as it could have been. Movement and battle. When not in battle, you're free to pretty much run around, steal everything not locked down, and basically Lindsay Lohan your way through the fucking world like a kleptomaniac at the Mall of America. The movement is easy, you can pick various formations for your followers to hold to, for running as well as battle, and it's slick as fuck with not a single dropped frame. I've seen games do half as much twice as poorly. Battle is turn-based action you've seen in most other games, with an invisible hex-style movement and attack system that never felt arbitrary or overly punishing. Some games can make you feel like walking takes half your action points and you can't figure out if your character has lung disease or if the developers never went out for a walk. But here in Divine Divinity, every single move surprised me by taking just a little less action points than I expected. Those points are also impacted by stats, weapons, and abilities to fit nicely into the touch me right there again grading scale of gameplay that I like so much. Which character is taking a turn and when is along the top of the screen and a nice big bar that shows avatar faces for everyone involved in the battle. At times it can be a bit confusing when Skeleton 31 is attacking you and you can't remember which one that is, but overall very friendly to new and old gamers alike. So you traipse the world, first starting out as little more than a typical tutorial until you find the main city. I'm not sure what they were thinking when they made this fucking city, but thank God they're in charge and not me. This place is a fairly massive Goliath area with more NPCs than Seattle has teen parents. It's a thing of beauty and wonder and can eat up hours of time as you go about. Secrets of all kinds abound just in the first location, but when the game opens up to a fairly massive area, it's about that time that you sit back, smile, and ask yourself, what have I gotten myself into? Now, the overall story starts out like something a 13-year-old fan of murder mysteries would write, but deft pacing and a handle on plot specifics means sooner or later you look around and, like my ex-wives, go, oh fuck, this thing is bigger than I thought. And the story is actually good. I mean, it's actually good. The plot is good, the characters you meet along the way are written excellent, and even the damn location-specific one-liners not only make sense, but don't sound like they were recorded by someone at Bungie, though here the wizards are never from the moon. When I got to 30 plus hours and still hadn't reached the end, I had a moment of epiphany. I needed to take a piss. I think my bladder had encroached the level of stretching, the likes of which only birthing a child could provide. The game is huge. Alchemy and crafting round out a wide assortment of secondary activities that make you feel like these guys are just flinging entire systems at you magician style with doves in their sleeves, except this time the doves are replaced by deep gameplay additions and the magicians are, well, still magicians. So what do you get with Divine Divinity Original Sin? Brothers and sisters, you get a game that makes you feel like somebody actually cared, not a game where you wondered if they spent their time eating pancakes and billing the company lawyer hours. This thing is an intense, insanely long, incredibly well-polished collection of one and zeros, the likes of which hasn't been seen since a generation or two ago, that someone also packed an editor and co-op into. So as always, I rate games on the patented and approved Karak buy, wait for a sale, rent, or never talk about it again rating scale. This is a buy. This is a buy at full price to pay back the developers who obviously paid attention in programming class instead of hanging out at the local bar trying to pick up 2 a.m. cloudy memory hookups. This is what a game should be. This is a AAA Kickstarter game. Enough said. I rarely say Game of the Year in my reviews, but that is usually because I can't remember what day or year it is. I will always remember the July 2014 week where I picked up Divine Divinity Original Sin as being a week and probably a weekend to remember. It is just that goddamn good. No hyperbole. So this is Karak from Angry Centaur Gaming. Thanks for watching and listening. If you like the video, hit like. If you dislike it, hit dislike. I don't give a fuck. Have yourselves a Merry Christmas on this July 4th because you just got the best gift you may get all year. By gift, we're talking about something you're buying for yourself, but let's be honest, we know what we want. Who needs fucking socks and shit? Peace out, bitches, and always wear leather. Or never do. Either's fine.